It was 5:45 in the morning on August 26th of this year when a 36-year-old woman left for her morning jog in Kenai, Alaska. What happened in the next few minutes changed her life forever. She was found severely injured by a neighbor, with wounds so severe she needed to be airlifted to Anchorage. But this wasn't an isolated case. Since May, at least a dozen similar attacks have been recorded on the Kenai Peninsula. And when you discover exactly where this is happening, you'll understand why some locals claim something much larger and more sinister is behind these attacks. Because just a few miles from these recent attacks, there's a ghost town that was completely abandoned 75 years ago. And the official reason for that abandonment, well, maybe that's not the whole truth. The pattern is always the same. Attacks during early morning hours or late afternoon. Severe injuries requiring immediate medical evacuation. And always in the same remote region of the Kenai Peninsula. In July, an experienced 72-year-old hunter was attacked while picking blueberries. A man who knew those lands like the back of his hand, who knew how to move in wilderness territory. Even so, he was caught completely off guard. We're talking about something that seems to be actively hunting. Something big. Something powerful. Something that leaves tracks that locals describe as different from anything they've ever seen. That's when I started investigating the exact location of these attacks and discovered something shocking. All of them are happening within a 30-mile radius of a small abandoned town called Portlock. Portlock doesn't appear on most modern maps. There are no signs indicating its location. It's as if someone wanted you to forget it ever existed. But in the 1940s, Portlock was a thriving fishing community on the Kenai Peninsula. It had a school, post office, dozens of families working in the cannery industry. And then suddenly, in 1950, everyone left. Not gradually. Everyone just left. The official version is that they built a new highway and people moved to more convenient locations. But the records show something different. Police reports from that time, the few that survived, speak of unspecified incidents. People disappearing. Bodies found in conditions that the reports describe only as disturbing. And most importantly, they speak of footprints. Enormous footprints. Footprints of something that, according to official measurements, would be about 9 feet tall. The native Alutiiq people of the region have a word for this, Nantinaq. And their stories about this creature date back centuries before Portlock was founded. According to the elders, the Nantinaq wasn't just an animal. It was something territorial, intelligent, that watched humans before acting. Consistent descriptions speak of a dark-haired creature, taller than any man, with strength enough to break adult trees. But here's the most disturbing detail. The Alutiiq always knew where not to build their villages. They always avoided certain areas of the peninsula. Areas that, decades later, would become exactly where Portlock was established. One of the last living residents of Portlock, interviewed in the 90s, said something that gave me chills. It wasn't just the attacks that made us leave. It was the feeling of being watched. Always. Like something big was in the trees, waiting for the right moment. In 1988, a military team training north of the Arctic Circle reported something that perfectly echoes the Portlock accounts. Footprints in the snow of something they estimated to be 9 feet tall. Footprints that they followed for miles through terrain that would be impossible for a human to traverse. But the most disturbing evidence came from local hunters in recent years. Trail cameras installed in the region captured images of structures made from broken branches, built at a height that suggests something much larger than human. Structures that appear overnight, always in the same areas where, weeks later, the attacks happen. And there are the sounds. Audio recordings made by researchers show vocalizations that don't correspond to any known animal in the region. Deep, powerful sounds that make local dogs refuse to leave their homes for days. Before I reveal what's really behind all of this, if you're finding this investigation interesting, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, because what I'm about to show you will completely change your perspective on this story. The truth is that the terror of Portlock, the recent attacks, and all this evidence have a much simpler and much more frightening explanation than any legend. Bears. Specifically, Alaskan brown bears. But these aren't ordinary bears. The brown bears of the Kenai Peninsula are some of the largest in the world, with adult males easily reaching 9 feet when they stand on their hind legs. They can weigh over 660 pounds and break an adult tree with a single blow. The giant footprints were real, bear tracks that, in soft snow, can appear much larger than they actually are. The recent attacks follow the same pattern as the 1940s. Hungry bears, coming out of hibernation, looking for food in areas increasingly close to human settlements. But this doesn't make the situation any less dangerous. In fact, it makes it more dangerous because we're dealing with real, intelligent predators who are learning that humans are easy prey. The Alaskan brown bear is one of the most powerful creatures in North America. They can run at 30 miles per hour and maintain a speed longer than a person could, and still swim miles without rest. When one of these animals decides you're a threat or a food opportunity, you have very few options. And the most frightening part, local biologists confirm that although the bear population on the Kenai Peninsula is small, fewer than 600 animals, attacks are considered rare but possible. With more people exploring remote areas and global warming altering bears' behavior and feeding patterns, attacks like the one on August 26th could become more common. The woman who was attacked during her morning jog was lucky. She survived. But experts warn, the next person might not have the same luck. As for the mystery of Portlock, it's not about legendary creatures or supernatural phenomena. The truth is that the stories of the town's abandonment have much more to do with economic and logistical changes. The construction of the new Alaska Route 1 highway made other locations more accessible, and people simply moved to more convenient places like Nantinaq and Port Graham. The closure of the postal agency between 1950 and 1951 officially marks this abandonment for purely practical reasons. However, reports of something different and sinister remain. The recent bear attacks show that the brute force of wild nature still dominates this region, and sometimes reality can be much more terrifying than any legend. But some questions remain open. Why do the legends persist even after decades? Why did the native Alutiiq always avoid certain areas? And why, even knowing about the bears, do some locals still insist they saw something different? And you, what do you think? Do you believe the Alaskan Bigfoot exists, or is it all just enormous bears and human imagination? If you enjoyed this investigation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And since you made it this far, I've prepared a special video that I'm leaving as a gift for you. It's a story that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the world around us. The link is in the description. Until the next investigation.